This episode of the Kill by Kill podcast is brought to you in part by Scream. Own the all-new Scream movie on 4K Ultra HD and Blu-ray today. It's starring Neve Campbell, David Arquette, and Courteney Cox. Scream is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Own it today and get killer bonus content, including interviews with the cast, deleted scenes, and much, much more. It's directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett. Now, you all know how much we at Kill by Kill love this flick, and we in Paramount just want to share more Scream with you. So email us at killbykillpod@gmail.com. That's killbykillpod@gmail.com with Scream in the subject line for your chance to win a free Blu-ray copy of this film on us. Don't wait, because these copies are going to go fast. Scream is rated R and from Paramount Pictures. And now, the body count continues. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, animal attack time is here. That's right. We're talking about 1980s Alligator on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from Missouri Town. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, and it's Animal Attacks April, where we talk about an animal attack movie in the hopes that a local bigwig's death is just the beginning of the jokes that we can make at his expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust to make sure that she wanders into a police station with a radio that could be turned into a time bomb. So when I need it later, I've got one. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I am so excited that we're finally getting to Alligator.
I'm glad that it's available for people to see on top of everything else. Like
a genuine masterpiece.
It is. Watching it again last night, it's just such a breezy, fun fucking watch for people to, like, if you haven't seen it, get yourself a copy. It is well worth your time and attention. It's 90 minutes. It's fun. It's funny. And it moves by at a breeze, and you get to meet a sweet boy we like to call Ramon.
Ramon.
The song we love to sing. But of course, I don't want to scare you, Gina, because we are not alone. That's right. We have a special guest slithering out of Florida into our podcast. Actually, she's not in Florida, but she's a returning champion to the Kill by Kill podcast, the one, the only, Megan Sunday. How are you doing, Megan?
I am doing well, and I just want you both to know that you're both my number one boy.
Scales and all.
And I am actually from Florida, so.
Oh, there you go.
There it works.
That's how well I know someone I talk to at least 5 times a week. So great.
Have you ever been to a gator farm, Megan?
No, I have been canoeing and heard gators and thought, this is a situation.
Yeah, I did go to one when I was working, recruiting people in Orlando for Universal Studios Japan. It made a mark. I don't forget it, and I've never had a desire to go back, not even once.
The closest I have come to a gator farm is someone I knew was going on a trip to Florida, and I said, if you go to a gator farm, bring me a souvenir. And they did. They brought me a tiny plastic gator in a little wooden crate. I still have it. I think I've had it for about 20 years.
Not a real gator, just
not a real gator.
A fun baby for fun.
But an incredible simulation.
Yeah, not a pet gator. No.
I see. Okay. Megan, what was the first thing? Because you love aquatic monsters.
I do.
That's an open secret.
It is.
So
it is, yeah.
When did you first encounter this motion picture?
I first saw this movie, it was probably, I want to say like 11 or 12. And all I remembered of it for years was the swimming pool scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure, which movie that came from. And then finally one day I, saw it again on probably YouTube. And I went, oh my God, it's this movie. There it is.
There it is in all its glory. The swimming pool scene definitely makes an impression. Gina, what about you?
I don't even remember when I first saw it. I must have caught it on cable, and that swimming pool scene is burned into my brain forever.
Yeah, it is remarkably well photographed. It's one of those magic tricks. I think we'll end up referencing Jaws a bunch, but while I would never compare the director of this film directly to Steven Spielberg, I will say that scene emphasizes the best use of cinematic language, because when the kid goes in and the camera zooms down to the overhead shot of Ramon, your head is doing the math. Mm-hmm. Then you see the kid swimming from left to right, and just this already open-mouthed Ramon. It doesn't have to move. It just moves in the kid's direction, and then blood. That's all you need. Your mind fills all the gaps, and it's, once again, if you're going to rip off Jaws, do it John Sayles style. The man knows how to rip off well.
Well, yeah, it's like with the in comparison to Jaws, like the like Alex Kintner's death, where we've probably all seen at this point the lost shot of him in the shark's mouth.
Yeah.
And it's horrifying.
Yes.
But at the same time, it actually is much scarier the way they left it.
Yeah.
Because you've got that like blood explosion. it's like, oh God, what artery that just went on that kid?
He's a water balloon of blood. Mm-hmm. The only explanation. The Kittner kid has extra gallons of blood in his calves. I don't know where.
He was starting to prune, and he was full of blood. So much blood.
Just snapped him in such a way that fountains pop upwards. Yes.
It's like the way Stephen King describes someone bleeding. Just the blood jets out of his neck or something. Bursts from his eyeballs.
I think the first time I saw Alligator was during my Blockbuster days. And I just remember finding it so funny. But it's not like it's played as a comedy. It's just an animal attacks drama that happens to have jokes in it.
It has a running. It's the only animal attack movie I know of in which there is a running gag about the hero's male pattern baldness.
He's very sensitive about it.
He is. He doesn't want you to poke at it. He doesn't want you to look at it too hard.
He doesn't want you to comment on his comb over.
And yet everyone else has a lot to say about it.
But it remains in perfect condition even after he's had sex.
That's just the majesty that is Robert Forster, who I have to say, like, this is a weird turning point in his career, because I think he was like Hollywood's sexy young thing for a little while, and coming into this, like, he's in great fucking shape. And if this had been any other era, probably Forrester would have pulled the Bruce Willis, which is to just shave down and just allow your face to continue to be that good and your body to continue to look that good. Then he decided hair plugs are the way to go. And so he knew it would look weird because he was halfway through the hair plug process here. And so he says to the director, he goes, I think other people should comment on it, because otherwise it'll just be too weird and it'll take the audience out of it. This way, at least it's a punchline. And I think it works to all the advantage, because now you're not looking at this guy as, oh, who is this golden god who is taken on this assignment to kill an alligator? It's more like, who's this schlub? Why is he eating beans out of the can in his apartment?
his apartment where even though he's like 40 years old, he has a lot of posters without frames on his wall.
It's a look. It's a feel. I've said once before there was a time I had an apartment where I could afford a bed, but my furniture, and namely where I stored my clothes, I had drawers that were made of cardboard, that were folded cardboard. That you put my clothes into.
So you basically have like Animal Crossing furniture?
Yes. Yeah. That's not that far away from it. Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. It didn't bring all of the girls to the yard. Let's put it that way.
What if you told him you were a cop who was on the trail of a killer alligator? Do you think that would have worked?
Oh, yeah.
If anyone were to believe me, then yes. So let's get right into Alligator. And of course, we start in Florida, where all great gator films start. There's a sequence at the alligator farm where a guy is trying to wrestle a gator, ends up getting chomped in the leg, blood flies everywhere. He's dragged out, and then what appears to be an extra who's dressed as Chuck from Friday the 13th 3D, the headband, the poof of hair, the tiny glasses, the whole schmear.
I think the funniest part about the scene is a little girl is so entranced by this that she is compelled to want to buy a pet gator.
Yeah.
Anyone who can cause that much damage, I've got to bring home.
Which is a little like watching like, a pit bull take off someone's fingers and be like, I want to get a puppy now. I want one of those.
Well, once he gets big, she'll just give it to a zoo or something.
Or something. What is the or something for Marissa? We will find out later on. She brings it back to Missouri town, and
Chicago.
It's not Chicago.
But the movie takes place in Chicago.
It does not. The only reason everyone thinks it takes place in Chicago was when Lionsgate released this on DVD. They stated on the back of the cover in Chicago. But all the cops, the mayor's car, they all have Missouri plates. This takes place in Missouri.
Weird.
I agree. It's hypnosis. It's one piece of information that sounds like it makes perfect sense, but you never see Chicago in the background.
So
no one makes
St.
any
Louis?
reference to Chicago.
Are you telling me that Wikipedia lied?
Wikipedia passed on faulty information that they learned from the DVD publisher of this film.
God. I just always assumed it was parts of Chicago I wasn't familiar with.
But the nice thing about seeing it in fucking 4K is that it takes place in Missouri.
I was too busy staring at his chest.
I know.
Well, thank goodness I refrained from going on that that personally led alligator tour when I went to Chicago, because I would have been lost.
Not to mention the fact that the entirety of the film is pretty much Los Angeles.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that leads to the confusion.
And because not all the cars have their plates changed over to Missouri, and that California blue and yellow is pretty hard to hide.
And there's a lot of people with pools.
I think that I thought it was Chicago too, presumably because that's what I was led to believe by these fucking liars.
Lies.
But it did occur to me. It's like that's a long way for Ramon to go.
Yes. He just makes it a few states over but they never name the town. They name check St. Louis because that's where, Madison had the incident where what he thought was a gun pulled on him turned out to be a roll of pennies and whatnot. His partner died. But there's no direct reference to this being Chicago with any, physical, verbal, print. It's just any town, Missouri.
Weird.
I agree. It's very odd that they don't name the city either.
Is this the Mandela effect?
No, because they just
no. I know. I'm joking. Guys, I'm joking.
I was gonna say no. They just lied.
Someone got it into their head it was Chicago, and that's what it became.
Well, one of the things that I always think of when I think about this movie is that back in the day when IMDb had message boards,
Yes.
there was a gentleman on the Alligator message boards who insisted he had written this movie and that it had been stolen from him.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it was just anytime anyone would make, a post saying, oh, this is a really good movie, I wish it was on DVD, at the time, he would pop in and be like, well, if I still had the rights to the story I wrote, everyone would own it on DVD, things like that, because that's how that works. So maybe he said it was in Chicago, and I just thought,
Yeah.
this guy on IMDb who.
I mean, there's no one in the movie that says Missouri either.
There's one sign, but I assumed it was just that they were driving a really roundabout way to Chicago.
Right. They're passing through Missouri to get to Chicago, but that's actually supposed to signal that it's Missouri. Then they forget that idea for the rest of it. So Marissa puts Ramon time to go to bed, Ramon. And then for some reason, she doesn't come back from school on time. Whatever it is, Dad decides, I've had enough of this alligator. I'm going to flush it down the toilet. This is a very paper thin motivation for this.
Well, but, the alligator, who was very small at this point and a very large tank, is somehow still managing to get out and shit behind the washing machine.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe. Also, I think something else is shitting behind the washing machine.
Yeah, I think Ramon was framed.
Ramon innocent until he starts eating people.
The Scream 2 Derek is innocent shirt did so well. I think shit behind the washing machine, Ramon is innocent is now the sequel shirt. Yeah. Sure. But I think it's a missed opportunity for the opening credits not to begin as Ramon is being flushed down the toilet. That's where you put Alligator, to me.
Is that the only movie that you know of that has a perspective of someone being inside a toilet?
I think
that I can think of. Yeah. I mean, the ultimate perspective of being inside the toilet is the VHS box of Ghoulies, an image that is not contained within the actual film. But cast your mind back. You're working for whatever podunk company is releasing Ghoulies, some subdivision of Columbia, I think, at the time. And you're like, how am I going to sell this Gremlins ripoff? I don't know. What if one of them comes out of a toilet? Well, that's not in the movie. I don't think it needs to be. I think everyone's going to know that there's a ghoulie in a toilet in this movie. Okay. And then a legend was born.
Stop right there. You struck gold.
I mean, this is twice. Lionsgate did it with this movie. They did it with Ghoulies. You're superimposing an idea that's not contained in the actual film upon its home video release. So anyways, 12 years later, we get to see an old pal. We just talked about him last week, and that's Sidney Lassick. Last seen feeding a nubile TV reporter to his little peanut. Now he is the world's worst pet store owner who picks up strays and maybe not so strays and sells them to the local chemical company to make chemicals, bad chemicals.
To make growth hormones?
Growth hormones.
That work a little too well, apparently.
Why would you use your work van? He is picking up stray animals, stealing loose animals. Because, I mean, sorry, that one golden retriever he picks up was somebody's dog.
Yeah, he has a collar on.
He has a collar on.
That's someone's dog.
And he's just sticking them in the back of his clearly labeled pet store van. He's the worst. We should do business with this man.
We should probably take a moment and tell people that you can't handle animal death in this. Don't watch Alligator.
Yeah. If you don't like seeing dog, at least it's straight up dog puppets. Like every animal you're seeing in this movie, with the exception of the sort of B-roll at the top of gators, is fake. They're all fake.
Yeah, you probably once Sidney Lassick's character dies, you're probably all right up to that point. But up to that, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
When he's carrying excuse me, the trash bags that are supposed to be of dead dogs, and he's just tossing them back and forth. It's like, I feel like there's a lot of just felt in there. I don't know if there's a real dog body in there.
Yeah. Along the way, we meet Detective Madison. He's thinning on top, but thick where it counts.
Hi-oh.
He is alerted by authorities that there's body parts showing up at the water plant. I don't know, whatever that is, where they're trying to reclaim water that has gone through the sewage system. And the the coroner tells them a story about how this one time they were able to identify a body with just a toe, and that because of that, they even ended up having a funeral for that victim. And his response is, that must have been a pretty small casket.
Amazing. I love it. This medical examiner he's talking to, all he needed was the sandwich, like the dropping crumbs on the corpse. You know how much I love that trope.
It's beautiful. And then of course, once he's told he's got to get outside because Chief Clark has asked for him. And of course, Chief Clark is played by the Punisher of vocal cords, known only as Michael V. Grazo.
Oh my God.
Looks and sounds absolutely like a guy whose last name is Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do wonder what his family came across Ellis Island, what their Clark-like name was.
Yeah, like Clarkarelli.
Carcalagozetto or whatever it was.
Carcleone.
There has never been more of a police chief character. Oh my God. And the fact that he's at all these crime scenes too. It's like, are you supposed to be in your office or something?
Right, no,
like, just here again.
He has to handhold Madison everywhere he goes. And part of those hands are growing out of his eyebrows. Just, wow. Again, don't want him to change. I am not face shaming this gentleman. I find it delightful that how unkempt he is at all given times. Like,
oh yeah, he was like a staple. I mean, he was in probably most famously in Godfather 2. And then like a bunch of other stuff, and always looked exactly the same, which is like this. I mean, you know, the way, I mean, he's probably like 50 because of the way, but he looks 75 because everybody
he was born 38.
Right.
He's one of those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, you know, and named Clark. I can't get over that part.
Clark.
Maybe I should have brought this up at the beginning, but why not say it here? I would argue that this is Louis Teague's best film. I think Cujo is a nice second, but if you just scan through his other filmography, it's kind of like, and then, Navy SEALs. And then it's just back down.
What else did he do besides?
It's a lot of TV, but it's not exactly a killer roster of, you know.
He did Cat's Eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, the Lady in Red.
It has its moments, but it's not a movie, I would say. Personally, I don't find it to be a movie. Like Jewel of the Nile. Who wants to be remembered for that? Collision Course is just like racism on a stick.
Isn't that like Jay Leno's sole attempt at becoming a film actor?
Yes, it is truly terrible on a mythical level. And it's like a lot of TV stuff like Time Tracks, Fortune Hunter, Dukes of Hazzard Reunion, an episode of The Profiler Becky was probably a hand model on. And then, of course, one of the biggest crimes against humanity, the 1997 Justice League of America TV pilot, which if you have not seen, do yourself a favor. Just pop open a bottle of wine, let it breathe, pop some popcorn, and just look at some stills from that. And then you will be sated for a while.
Not even watch the whole
Your
thing.
soul will be
Just
fed.
look at pictures.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't ever listen to people say anything out loud. It's, oh my God. But the idea that this was going to be ongoing is a grand fantasy. It's truly low rent. But anyways, Madison manages to track down the former owner of that arm. And we learned that he was one of the sewer guys who works for the city. So he decides to go into the storm drains that are adjacent to the LA River. And we are witness to something that I was like, you know what? I've seen that before. And that's a lot of backward swastikas. Just knowing the basic shape, but not really knowing how it goes or what that exactly means. It's just like a fucking fairy tale to someone in 1970.
It just looks kind of metal.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that Suzuki S. It's just lines going places. It doesn't really mean anything. I wish it still didn't mean anything. Anyways, Gutchell, who's the name of Sidney Lassek's character, Gutchell, who's swinging around a Gutchell. He's poured into a Hawaiian shirt like he's a sausage roll, and he's a little too enthusiastic about getting rid of evidence personally, and he has managed to go down into the LA River, and in his effort to really hide his crimes, and he could have done that by not driving around his, as Megan noted, his work van. But here he's like, I got to make sure that these dead dog carcasses make it past this abandoned shopping cart in the storm drain. And as he's doing that, lo and behold, who is waiting for him but Ramon to give him a giant mouth hug?
Yeah,
That's love.
I gotta say, I mean, if I was going to be involved in providing animals to a laboratory for insidious purposes, and then they also tasked me with getting rid of the animals, I would simply set fire to them.
Yes.
Yeah, and wouldn't they have those sorts of facilities?
They don't have a
facility?
they don't have a crematorium, because that seems like that would be the
Yeah.
best way to hide what you are doing.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. A chemical company who would be working on animals would have an on-site crematorium. It's a fun way to get rid of evidence, if nothing else. But no, make sure that Gutchell is tossing these chemical-infused dead dog carcasses. And of course, that is the reason why Ramon has grown to the size he has, because this growth hormone they're working on works, but it also makes that animal need to eat constantly. And that explains why he's decided to bust out of cement sewer drains and just swallow children whole.
Well, you know that tired old joke about how something is something on steroids. That's
Yes.
actually what this is.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
juicing.
The gods.
Ramon's juicing, looking good.
That's true. He's wearing a lot of tight t-shirts. He's
oiling himself up before he's seen in public.
slathering baby oil on his scales. He's selling a lot of supplements that are right in front of YouTube. Their YouTube ads, unskippable YouTube ads.
Yeah, his liver numbers aren't looking too good, but he's not going to worry about that right now.
No.
How can someone who looks so healthy have a body in such distress? I don't know. Maybe it's something that Ramon is eating. And that is courtesy of a gentleman named Slade. He's our local bigwig. He's the head of Slade Chemicals. And he's so thirsty for an artificial growth hormone that he literally drools mid-scene, and you get to see it.
And he's dueling with Captain Clark for having the voice that most sounds like they were born with a pack of Lucky Strikes in their hand.
It does. How this film has the gall to have many actors whose throats have apparently been worked over with a cheese grater And it's like the film's like dares you to tell the difference between them. It's like, oh, well, how do I know who Slade is? Well, his mouth doesn't work so well when it's keeping drool inside. That'll help. He also has very flappy ears. He dresses like your grandmother's curtains.
They really try to do something with that character that I'm not sure where they were going with it. Because in the later scene in the wedding sequence, when we get to hear his anecdote
about how he cooks his steak, barbecues his steak,
and how the mayor is like just sucking up to him constantly. It's like, well, I don't care about it. Why is this in here? Like, did they just catch these guys?
Yeah, they forgot to make him evil. He just kind of like this doddering old man.
Well, he does call his future son-in-law his number one boy. Which I did check with my husband. I was like, how would you feel if my parents ever called you their number one boy? And he was not best pleased with the
I tried to get my father-in-law to adopt it over the weekend. He was not into it. So, I don't know. Whoever Ollie brings home as a partner, maybe I can make that work. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if I would bet on that one.
This is where we see the first of many great newspaper headlines, just fantastic newspaper headlines. And this one of the ones that spins on the screen here is Cops Seek Sewer Psycho. Madison and Kelly, who's a rookie with half a fist of chaw in his mouth, now go down into the sewers because Madison figures at some point they're going to find the rest of these bodies. What we do find is, for the second week in a row, more floating rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why have none of the rats who are also feeding on these dogs, why haven't they gone food of the gods level big? Or have all the big ones been swallowed by Ramon?
I was going to say, or all the big ones went to Castle Rock to live in the paper mill.
Yeah, right. They went up to the basement of Graveyard Shift.
Exactly.
Right?
Graveyard Shift.
Graveyard Shift.
Yeah, they really don't. I think they just didn't think about that, fortunately. Yeah. They were like,
it's okay. It's a breezy run. Like there are very few faults to this motion picture.
It's not Sewer Animals, the movie. It's Alligator.
Right. If you want Sewer Rats, the movie, go and make it. And maybe we'll talk about it in 20 years' time. I think the flashlight reveal of Ramon going past behind them, that's like a straight ripoff of Halloween, but you've done it well. Like, all of this stuff is not, I wouldn't call the contents of it original, but I will say the way it's remixed and repurposed gives it originality.
And I just love that it's just Ramon in the back, like, hi. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Ramon.
You may know me as Ramon.
Later, they try to refer to him as Alexander the Alligator, which is horrible and lame. And not
No. Ramon
Alexander the Gator.
Ramon just feels good in the mouth. It just feels good.
Ramon is a good boy, and he's been done wrong by Slade Chemicals. Mm-hmm. Ramon chases them into a dead end. They can't move a manhole cover in time, and of course, Madison can't lift the manhole cover fast enough. Kelly gets taken down one leg. R.I.P.D. Kelly. Mm-hmm. He had very blonde hair. Good for him.
He also does that weird disappearing thing in the middle, or we're supposed to think that Ramon got him, but he was just, I guess, fooling around. Kelly.
I think he gets pulled and then he tries to pull himself back, and then Ramon's like,
well, I meant initially when Ramon first sort of is like, hey, somebody's crawling around in here.
Yeah.
Madison is talking to Kelly and he hears a splash, and then Kelly's just like gone, and it's a fake out because then Kelly's like, surprise, I'm here. It's like, Kelly, this is not appropriate.
Yeah. Kelly, the guy who played Kelly, was on television forever. His IMDb is just television. He worked. His last job was in 2018, but apparently he lives in Palo Alto, California. Good for him.
Should have brought him on the show.
And so from there, Madison wakes up in the hospital because he passes out. Because he has problems with his partner's dying. Kelly is MIA, and we're confronted in his hospital room by a reporter named Kemp, who is wearing the same Pepto-Bismol colored tie and beige corduroy jacket for multiple days.
That's just his reporter gear.
Yeah, he's hard-boiled reporter. He's got stuff to do. He can't be changing his tie.
He also looks like he's been running a 5K. Like, I get that Madison was in a sewer, but was this reporter also in a sewer? He looks
a different sewer.
He looks unkempt.
He's the one who, of course, at the press conference is asking questions about the dead partner instead of what's actually going on, because he's just the slimy reporter out to get this cop for really no reason.
Very full eyebrows on this man. Very full eyebrows.
There's a lot of very full eyebrows in this film.
Oh yeah, it's an eyebrow full motion picture.
I will say that one thing I appreciated about this movie is that they only picked up the thread of, well, maybe Madison is killing his partners for like maybe about 45 seconds, and they let it go.
Yeah.
There's like not a great motivation for like he's a Jack the Ripper of his own partners. Like that's not a great. He would be really dumb.
I do like the newspaper headline. It's like front page, cop's partner dies, ... again. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if that would be front page news.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'd pick that one up myself.
If Madison had been able to revive that dead partner and then killed him again, that is news. That's news you can use, honestly. It is now where we meet Dr. Marissa Kendall. That's right. The little girl from the beginning of the story is now a very redheaded herpetologist. She's a reptile expert who knows how to handle a snake, if you know what I mean.
I love that
she's good at handling snakes.
I love that the actress in this was about 30 when she played this role. And everybody in the movie is referring to her as little girl, as kid, as who's this pretty girl? And they're just like, everybody's just absolutely aghast that she's a doctor.
Oh, I know. They're just horrified at the very notion. And it's so weird that she likes reptiles. Like, oh, she's got pet snakes. What a weirdo.
Yeah. Something's wrong with her. Why isn't she handling my snake? So Kemp hears about the alligator claim from a nurse at the hospital.
Pre-HIPAA. Just says, hey, what are you in here for? He was yelling about an alligator in the sewer.
Yeah, she's all like, he was talking crazy.
I can only imagine when HIPAA passed through both houses of Congress that they used a film clip of alligator as an example.
Look at this.
How they wanted to protect, people from their healthcare providers.
Yeah, considering the crazy stuff people say when they're coming out of anesthesia, it's like, that's like, oh, they were just talking crazy. They said the moon was made of cheese, and they're, the king of Gouda.
I'm honestly surprised I've never come out of anesthesia and been like, alligator.
When I woke up during my colonoscopy, I did it twice. I was faced towards the television monitor, and I said, I'm like, hey, looking great. And then passed out.
I hope I do that when I get mine.
Oh, did I mention that they could only do 90% of my colonoscopy and I get to do it again in June?
You did not mention that. Oh. Why?
Yeah,
if I may ask, or is that too private for
I was born with a superpower. I'm a bit of a mutant. I don't want to toot my own horn. I have lots of tracked. I have lots to look at. Apparently I have more than normal.
Do you have like a really, so you have like
such, unless you're particularly talented at it or you move me around right, and they can't force the camera too far because that will rupture what it's going through. So I get to go back in June. I get to do that whole thing over again in June.
So you get to are you saying you basically have like a really long small intestine?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
Ladies, don't line up all at once. I'm sorry, I'm taken. Someone has all of this extra long intestinal tract.
I hope that was in your vows.
At the time, no one knew. It took several years later for us to truly learn the truth. So Kemp goes down into in the sewer. He manages to trip almost in the exact same place, but he's taking artful photography of all the pieces, all the things in the sewer, but he's also moving evidence around so it makes a better picture. Anyways, Ramon gives him a nice mouth hug. And then they find the camera, develop the film. Again, taking a page from Jaws 2, but in such a faster fashion. And of course, spinning newspaper headline, reporter takes pics of own killer.
I was hoping that the guy who developed the pictures was flipping through them and it would make like a flip book of like Ramon coming at him.
If he did, and it was just
really appreciate how quickly everyone's just like, well, holy shit, it's a big alligator.
Yeah, so I was talking about that. They as soon as the reporter died, you would think, in a lesser movie than Alligator, that the reporter ends up dead. Well, everybody knows he was harassing Madison, and now he's dead. Boy, that looks suspicious for Madison. But no, they're like, nope, he got ate by a giant alligator.
No, it's not so much a twist as it is a slight curve. What the point of this movie is to watch people get at by Ramon. And it's a great delivery system of that purpose. It knows how to entertain you. Oh no, it looks like, I've been separated from the others. But I still have you, don't I, listener? Well, let me let you in on a little secret. So we all know that spring break is coming soon. Summer's hot on its tail, if you know what I mean. And, we all want to look and feel our best everywhere, even down there. That is where our sponsor, Manscaped, comes in. That's right, fellas. We've all been there. You want to clean up the devil's triangle, as it were, but you don't have the right tools for the job. We love blood and guts here at Kill by Kill, but not when trimming your most delicate of delicates. I asked my dear friend Jason Voorhees for help in this area. After all, he does have access to all those loose machetes, and frankly, it did not go well. Thank goodness for Manscaped. Their Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need for below-the-waist grooming. First off, you've got the Lawnmower 4.0, right? It's a trimmer, and dare I say it might be the best ball trimmer of all time, in my opinion. With their 4th generation trimmer, it features this cutting edge ceramic blade. It reduces grooming accidents, and thanks to its skin safe technology, you can feel confident using it in places you might not normally use a trimmer. So the Lawnmower 4.0 is also waterproof, so you can shave anywhere. None of that mess on your bathroom floor. And for me, weirdly enough, the best part is this 400K LED spotlight that is actually on the trimmer itself. It allows you to be very precise, and I think that light is kind of revolutionary. But wait, there's more. Hold on. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. It's also waterproof, and because of that proprietary skin-safe technology, it helps reduce nicks and snags and tugs and those, delicate nose holes. And those are 3 things that Jason cannot reduce the risk of at all. Those machetes are large, and he likes to tug. But hold the phone. We are not even done yet. You also get Manscaped's Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner, which will help you change the way you approach your hygiene routine. That's right. You can feel more confident in what you've got going on there, even if no one sees it. Now, trust me when I say this, fellas, your balls will thank you. Maybe not in words. Maybe inwards. I don't really know what your relationship is with your balls, but Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and their Shed Travel Bag, so you can bring your comfort and boxers to another level. Those boxers feel very good. I can attest this. I'm wearing them right now. And I know what you're saying. Patrick, what is in it for me? Well, you're going to get more confidence and a well-groomed look downstairs and a deal. That's right. You can get 20% off and free shipping with the code KBK at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and you use the code KBK. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped and feel better about yourself. And now the body count continues.
What I do love right before everyone believes him is the part where he walks into the locker room and every other police officer is just sitting in the locker room listening to one of them read this article about how his previous partner had died.
Like it's a bedtime story.
And he comes in and he says something like, hey, you know, I'm standing right here. And everyone just turns and stares at him. He opens his locker and there's rubber alligator inside. And everyone stares as if it was like one of the scenes from School Ties or something. Like everyone's just like, alligator. It's an alligator. You said there was an alligator. There's an alligator in your locker now. And he just like kind of walks away and then they just keep reading. But it's like, this is the most workplace harassment that you're getting when you say there was a giant alligator. Like, wow,
it's all very understated, very polite harassment.
It's just the way they all stare.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, open your locker.
Like a real cop is dead, but it's more fun to razz the one who's still alive.
Open your locker, there's an alligator in it. Whoa. Boom.
But once it is proven that there's an alligator in the sewer, of course, everyone is on the case. We get a quick sort of montage of local TV coverage, including baby Harold Green. He's the redheaded gentleman with the mustache. He worked at 3 local news desks here in LA. If he kind of looks familiar to you, it's because it is believed he was the visual inspiration for Ron Burgundy in Anchorman.
Really?
Oh.
That's amazing.
That hair grew wilder, that bushy mustache grew bigger, and around the time, I think 82, it's just, he looks like Ron Burgundy. It's fucking wild. The one thing that is missing from all the SWAT montage of them going into various points of the drainage system, it's just in the background, someone going, hot, 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 hot. The plan that Madison has here is that he's going to put all these SWAT team members in groups of 3 and 4. And they know from the doctor that loud noises will drive it away from them. He doesn't like loud noises. So they'll come from the outside of the city and drive Ramon towards one exit and then have a literal army with M16s on the other end ready to shoot Ramon.
But not our Ramon.
No. He's too smart for that. He doubles back on them. And Madison is to look a fool in front of the mayor.
I like how many people are waiting for this giant alligator to show up. Like, that might not have gone the way. They're very fast.
Fucking Waco had fewer guns on site than the exit of that storm drain.
Is this for somebody who also like different people were selling like souvenirs?
No, that's
that
later.
comes later.
Okay.
That comes later.
I love that part. I love that part.
Great White Hunter shows
Oh
up.
God.
Really, they've driven Ramon to a new place in the sewer, and I think while we don't see it, the implication is he can't back out of where he is. So when everyone looks a fool at this plan, they all disperse, including Madison and Chief Grazzo, and they pass by these kids playing baseball on the street. And this is where every once in a while on this show, we see something that you didn't know is there. And you're like, oh my God, how did I never notice this before? And this is one of those sequences because one of the kids playing street baseball is dressed in a Frederick J. Krueger red and green sweater.
Yep.
And you're like, it kind of looks like that. No, it's the exact hue of that sweater. It is the exact stripe length and width. It is a perfect fucking
as
match.
soon as I noticed that, I could not stop. Like my eye just constantly stayed on it for that whole scene.
It's there's so much beautiful mayhem to come after that, but that was such an hors d'oeuvre, a perfect single bite of.
That's why Ramon made an appearance. He wanted to see the sweater.
That's right. He heard the siren call of Frederick J. Krueger, and so he comes busting out of the sewer grate and gives everyone his signature smile. He just loves to be alive.
He's just so happy to be there.
Yes.
I love those shots so much because it's so obviously an alligator in miniatures, but it's just you just love it. You just
it's charm.
Can't, you're just like, yep, yeah, no, that's a big alligator. Look, he's
you
so big.
You can't measure charm, and this film has charm to spare. Those miniatures are pretty well done considering the budget of the motion picture. Like, they use it just enough. They use the mechanical replacement just enough. They find ways to film Ramon in interesting ways. This is a great sequence where really they're given the illusion of a live alligator, chasing these kids away, walking down the middle of the street. And then you're like, well, where's this going to go? Well, a cop car has an entirely fiery fucking crash upon seeing Ramon. And this Irish potato with a mustache emerges. Like he's a real proto Franz.
As a descendant of many Irish potatoes, I take offense at that.
Yeah, really. Hey, wait a minute. This is our people.
I was gonna say the hate crime has been committed by my own friend and co-star.
Listen, I'm so Irish, like I can't see the sun. I'm like a fork in a microwave. It's just sparks and pain. So believe me, I just think he makes a very bad choice in crawling out of the window towards the alligator.
Just into its mouth, basically.
Yes. Handing himself over.
Just like, I've really messed up from that crash. Please take off one of these legs. And that's exactly what happened.
I'm pretty, these kids are like, they only appear to be mildly perturbed at what they're seeing.
Yeah, one of them yells, "That's the one from the TV." Like, no, it's a different alligator that just burst out of the street.
They don't disperse. They just kind of hide a little bit, but continue to watch what's happening.
Yeah. Well, that one goes up to his apartment, grabs a bread knife, and then goes downstairs. And the mom is like, I just don't know what I'm gonna do.
She's like, he's trying to be crazy.
You've got bigger problems.
And she's going, I don't know what they're playing. I don't know what they're doing. Like,
So,
okay.
in the aftermath of this, when Ramon has wandered away, we finally get some good graffiti. All of it looks like a production designer, because it's the same handwriting, as it were. We have "Far Out," "Eat It," and of course, "Butt Power."
The mean streets.
I mean, really, like, these children are coming out warped. They how can you raise your children right when "butt power" is just written on walls for them to read?
I think my child made that graffiti.
I do like that pretty quickly. The idea of a giant alligator goes from rumor to reality based on scientific evidence, and then the testimony of a bad news bear kind of puts it over the top. Like, all right, this child can't possibly lie. Like, he didn't rip this police officer's leg off. It had to be a giant alligator.
I especially love that later when they show a news story, there's just a cartoon of an alligator.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't get a stock photo of an American alligator.
No, it has to be an artist representation because Ramon is unto himself.
And it's not even
like
a particularly great cartoon. It's just someone backstage. They were like, "Oh no, we don't have a picture for this story. Someone draw an alligator."
Gina, what is the name of that restaurant that has the sketches of all the Broadway
Sardi's?
Sardi's. If you put one up, that sketch with Ramon underneath it, I think I would go to that restaurant.
Just get your picture with a thumbs up. Me and Ramon.
Yeah.
Like when my kid got her picture taken with the drawing of Lin-Manuel Miranda.
So this is where it really begins to meet ahead that this is Los Angeles, Missouri. Because once Ramon decides to deposit himself in a local lake, it's too big of a set for them to really seal off where this location is. You begin to see LA city buses in the background, and it becomes very evident that this is MacArthur Park, and they've just turned the fountain off. You just have a lot of LA business in the background. But luckily, someone is here to distract us from what might be, a continuity problem. And that's where we enter Henry. I make my own slime, thank you, Silva. As Colonel.
I know
Buck.
that he was, did a lot of TV and movies. I can't think of anything else other than the host of Was It Bullshit or Not and Amazon Women on the Moon.
Right, yeah, exactly. The second Amazon Women on the Moon co-star in this, there's another one. I'll get to that eventually. But Colonel Brock is basically Craven the Hunter without the flair, but with more misogyny.
Yeah, every woman he talks to, he's basically undressing her with his eyes.
Yeah,
making alligator mating noises.
I mean, I think it's not really doing the movie a great service that it's not advertised that Henry Silva is basically doing a Charlie Callis of the hunting world. There's this whole sequence where he's doing mating calls to this local TV reporter in order to get her in the back of a news van and do some news van violence, if you know what I mean.
Shockingly, Henry Silva still alive.
I hate to say he's a breath of fresh air in this movie because there's lots of air to suck in. It's full of real characters. And not only in its casting, but the characters themselves have character. They're just like not stock in a specific way. Everyone is a little bit different than you think they might be within these roles. And it just makes the whole endeavor sing as a result.
Yeah, totally. Everybody, most importantly, everybody seems like they're having a lot of fun with this.
And that's how they all talk about it after the fact, including a young production assistant by the name of Bryan Cranston, who was in charge of putting the blood and guts into the fake Ramon who blows up.
Incredible.
Nice.
Yes. He talks about it in lovely tones. Just what a great experience it was and how it exposed him to all this stuff. And of course, it allowed him to continue to be a working actor in LA. And he ended up, having Forrester on an episode of Breaking Bad, and then was like, I don't know if you remember me, but we were in a travel van together. And they had this, Forrester's like, I don't remember that at all, but I'm glad I was nice. That sort of attitude. As you mentioned earlier, this is where we get the sort of phalanx of people selling cheap gator toys,
which I would have thought was silly until I moved to New York and started working near the 9/11 memorial. And then let me tell you that there are plenty of people who make a living selling very tacky 9/11 souvenirs.
And I lived in Florida near a supposed apparition of the Virgin Mary that appeared in a bank window. And people sold a lot of stuff about that too.
It's just the Virgin Mary with $100 bills coming out of her robes. Is that what's happening there?
It was something that happened to the glass that kind of was the shape of how you often see the Virgin Mary portrayed.
Not as fascinating as her appearing in a piece of toast or anything like that.
Sure.
Hey,
or that toaster being possessed by the devil. That is empirical evidence that we live in a world in which God and the devil.
I think I was going to say
that haunted toaster.
I may have been aware of your existence, Megan, by you posting the haunted toaster clip online somewhere.
Yeah, just me being like, has everyone seen the haunted toaster?
And I was like, oh, she seems cool.
Sounded like Eli Wallach. I didn't mean said Satan lives on the toast.
And what better way to communicate that than with the toast? Like, that's how you reach the people.
I sort of feel like if you're like, the devil, and you're going to be making a big scene. You might go a little above, a lady's toaster.
You would think.
But who am I? Who am I to judge?
Whomst amongst us. But this is when we get to a sequence of them chasing the alligator all over town. And that's when I'm like, oh, those are not Illinois plates. They're Missouri plates. Of course, because that 4K, you can see everything. And so they make reference, a newscaster makes reference to the gator poop they find was seen in the Marquette Hill section of the city. Well, that's fucking St. Louis. So I don't know what St. Louis Madison was kicked out of.
Bizarro St. Louis.
It's the movie's only problem. Everything else in this checks out, even on a scientific level. So, yes.
Like Marissa keeps insisting that there's no way the alligator could get that big. And then even she has to be like, sorry about how that alligator is really big. Whoops.
Like, yeah, I'm like, it shouldn't be that way, but it totally is. So,
I am sad that there's never a moment that like she and Ramon recognize each other.
I know. I was waiting for a moment where they like lock eyes. She's like, Ramon?
Yeah. She mentions Ramon because she tells Madison that she used to have a pet alligator. That's when he keeps calling her kid, which is really weird when this is a person you're going to later have sexual intercourse
and then eventually says, oh, I just call everybody younger than me kid, which I get that because I do that too.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah,
fair.
sure.
But, she has to insist like, I'm not a kid. I'm actually professor.
Yeah, she has a fucking
adult.
hardcover book that he has possession of. Like anyone who has a hardcover book with their face on it, that person is no longer a kid unless legally they're a fucking kid. But anyways, it's a piece of ephemera. Here we go. So Madison then questions the scientist at Slade. And because of that, Slade makes a call to the mayor and Madison's out at the police department. So before leaving the precinct, he grabs that bomb timer and 4 sticks of dynamite from the evidence locker. And is like, I can use these later on. And guess
Just
what? He
labeled
does.
dynamite.
Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. You would mistake them for breakfast sausage links or something. So Dr. Kendall and Madison go back to the sewers looking for Ramon's nest. And we cut back to the Slade residence. And this is when he refers to that scientist guy who's marrying his daughter as, quote, my number one boy. That is, I do not enjoy that turn of phrase.
No.
And
to the mayor.
he does it in a way that basically says, I own you.
Mm-hmm.
That's very few movies have the guts to make a kid like Donald walk the plank, but that cowboy, he had it coming.
But they were trying to kill this kid, basically.
I think the fact that an alligator kills that kid is circumstantial.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to
kill
that kid.
You ease like, what is he, like 6? You tie a blindfold around a child, around a child's eyes and coax him onto a diving board that's in front of a pool full of murky water.
Yeah.
And again, we discussed that scene at the top, but it's so good.
It's like so no, there's gonna be a fake out, right? No. He fucking ate that kid.
And he does. And it solves the problem that we kind of confronted last year when it had to do with Shark Night. And that is to avoid the sharks, don't get in the water. And here, Ramon is mobile. Like he finds water all over the place. So even if you're like, well, don't go in the sewers, Ramon eventually gets out of the sewers and is just pool hopping all around town.
This is why
I love that
this is why you cover your damn pool when you're not using it.
They show them looking from a helicopter and he is just under one floaty in this pool, just like, ha.
Can't see me.
Yeah, whoever was in that helicopter was not paying attention because no one would mistake that large of an alligator as, oh, those are 2 pool floaties next to one another.
Were y'all hoping that Ramon would launch himself out of the pool and attack the helicopter?
I mean, they can do that.
I feel like if they made the movie now, they would do that.
And alligators can kind of do that.
Yes.
So I would.
They can spring.
Yeah.
Yes. now we get back to Colonel Brock. And of course, he's recruited 3 local street toughs to act as, I don't know. It's a lot of casual racism, but it wouldn't be an animal attacks movie from the era unless you had some. So they go around the city with a 6-pack of Schlitz beer. And one guy points down an alley and says, this is what we call Booger Alley. How did Booger Alley
I think the less we think about that, the better.
That's where they've heard heavy breathing.
Yeah. And this brings another rule that you learn in animal attacks movies. And I'm not sure which number we're up to, but I think it's important for our audience to hear. Never follow anyone into Booger Alley.
Yeah.
Where they hear heavy breathing.
Yeah, just don't go down. Don't go into anything where you can hear heavy breathing. Just don't.
No.
Avoid the area. You don't have to go down there. But Ramon is burrowed himself into a trash pile like a real dirty peanut. And he springs out and almost swallows Brock whole, but Brock's not dead yet. So when one of the local street toughs finds Brock being crushed by this giant alligator, Brock yells out, "Pull me out." No.
No, sir.
No. If anyone on earth is going to do that, it would be adorable. But when Henry Silva does it, it's adorable and ridiculous. So this results either indirectly or directly with Madison and Kendall falling in bed with one another. Then they go out for Chinese food, as you do. The actress who plays Kendall informs us in the Scream Factory DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, that they got stoned before doing this scene.
I mean, what better time what better opportunity when you're getting Chinese food?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that leads, I think there's a certain amount of improv throughout the movie. He kind of freaks out on Kendall a little bit. Later, he comes by Kendall's mom's place where Kendall's living to apologize. And he also compliments her on her educational accomplishments and her tits.
Well, I mean, those are the most important things to me.
He's covering all his bases.
Yeah. She's well-rounded in all of the best ways. So later, police boats find Ramon in the local canal. This would be in sort of the Venice, Santa Monica area, I'm pretty sure.
Someone points and yells, "That's him." Yes, that is him.
And we have a
That's
wacky
him.
boat chase in which they end up running over the alligator. Several people fall out of the boat. One guy gets swallowed whole. Another guy loses a couple legs. And then the one guy, a grenade falls into the box of grenades and he blows up real good.
Yeah, I love when the boat basically just like kind of launches itself off of Ramon. That's great.
You just want the guitar riff from Live and Let Die.
Exactly.
And this is where we learned this canal system just so happens to be close to the Slade Mansion, where the hoi and polloi of corrupt Missouri have made all the worst fashion choices possible to attend this wedding.
One thing I want to note about this wedding is that later when Madison and Marissa show up, the guy at the gate initially doesn't want to let them in because he doesn't have an alligator on the guest list. He does have an orchestra and a magician.
Yeah.
A magician at a wedding?
You guys didn't have magicians at your wedding?
No. I mean, we had a candy table.
We had cheese curds. That's like magic. It's fried cheese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No magicians though, huh?
No.
Yeah. The person who's at the gate is Mike Bazerky, who owned one of the most wonderfully craggy faces in all of the entertainment industry. He generally specialized in playing goons on film. He's in Some Like It Hot, Dick Tracy, Zots, ! And, you guessed it, Amazon Women on the Moon.
Great motion picture.
But just to rewind a little bit, the Slade Mansion massacre happens here. This is where Ramon really gets that tail into the action and manages to truly, I guess he crosses a lot of class bounds because he starts killing most of the wait staff, but then works his way up to killing both the mayor and Slade. It crosses all the class boundaries. He's truly a revolutionary.
I'm not quite understanding. I mean, I get that Slade is basically crushed in his car.
Yeah.
I'm not understanding that apparently his other door doesn't work.
I'm not sure he's the guy who opens his own doors.
I think that if an alligator is crushing your car, you figure it out real fucking quick.
Yeah, you would think.
Or at least putting that window down and crawling out of the window. You're not just gonna sit there and patiently let this alligator's bash the roof of your car. Just sort of crouch down it's been a good run.
I do like that the dog that initially sees Ramon gets away. That dog is like, whoo, no,
fuck this. Fuck them kids. Fuck them wait staff.
I
fuck
barked.
Those white people.
I tried to tell you.
That's for damn sure. And just makes an amscray. And I don't even know what the body count here is. It's just astronomical how much Ramon destroyed that.
Well, you've got Ramon eating people, then you've got, of course, just people panicking and knocking each other into pools and running over each other and all.
I tried to find where this mansion is, and no one lists its location. It's
imagine the tourist traffic you'd get from seeing the wedding mansion from Alligator, 1980, director Louis Teague.
Unbelievable backyard this guy has. It's
and
just fantastic.
We must note that during the wedding, as both Gina and myself noted, someone leaps through and smushes the wedding cake, much like in the music video for November Rain.
Imagine if that was actually why everybody panicked. Because,
there's an alligator.
Yeah, you thought, this big... Because, it is kind of silly because in the video for November Rain, I think it was a thunderstorm.
Yeah. Yeah, they're panicking from rain.
And everybody is just, losing their shit and, just, running inside and, guy just flangs into the cake and it's like, what happened to that guy? Launched out of a cannon.
It's raining, guys. It's raining. You'll be okay.
It's like that cat in the diner from Friday the 13th Part 5. It's just, he's been out of a t-shirt cannon, popped from one end to the other. Here, at least they give you the explanation. He's been smacked by a giant alligator tail.
Everyone at the wedding in November Rain is wearing leather and or velvet, so.
Yeah, it's true. If you get caught in the rain and in leather, that's not comfortable.
Yeah, those pants are never going to fit again. And that was a significant cost. You're buying leather pants as a legacy buy.
But remember those videos were part of some sort of very artsy trilogy that was supposed to be based on a short story that nobody could ever find.
Yes,
I know this because I tried to find it.
Thank you, me too.
But
that short story is called Ramblings from a Guy on Cocaine.
I was gonna say the short story is I made this shit up by Axl Rose.
Right.
But because he's haunted by something that happened, and I'm like, alligator.
It was an alligator at the wedding.
Giant alligator attack. That's how Stephanie Seymour died. They show her the casket. She looks really nice, but then they pan down. She's missing a foot.
That's why they have the mirror.
Exactly.
Alligator. Ain't the other side.
Oh, but that's what that video needed, was a giant alligator. Also, shout out to whoever's the chauffeur in that car, because his gawking, his disbelief really sells that fake alligator.
Well, that poor dude is just just being slammed up against the car over and over again.
And he just beats up that limo like a real street fighter too. And
he doesn't even eat the mayor. He just crunches him and leaves him there.
He bites him in half and just drops him on the ground I'm too good for this.
You don't taste good at all.
No, you taste corrupt.
Ramon has standards.
He likes delicious children.
Well, when they just
Yeah, I was
fall
gonna
into
say-
his mouth.
Yeah, I was gonna
Right.
say. I mean, when you eat a child, I mean, it's like, okay, this is a new taste sensation. I mean, remember what Chris Evans said in Snowpiercer?
I do.
Babies are delicious.
Yeah.
I feel like we as a society have just decided to forget that there's a movie where Chris Evans talks about eating babies.
I mean, just think about like, when you're playing with a baby, you just have this overwhelming urge to take a little nibble, just a little,
Well, they do smell great.
They
That's for
do,
sure.
and they're plump and juicy. They're like little rotisserie chickens.
My beloved Nigel loved licking babies. He
Aw.
found them delicious. I can believe it.
Well, also they usually have like bits of food and all on them too.
Yeah,
So.
true.
I want to
But
believe, Gina, that was a reference to Yellow Jackets, wherein someone has a nightmare where they give birth to a rotisserie chicken.
Yes.
Oh my God. There's a long, elaborate chase where they're like, oh my God, we got to get into this Slade mansion. And they come into the aftermath and people are like, oh, you're off the case and whatnot. So they go down to the Helms Bakery in Culver City, which is now a high fashion and high-end furniture spot. And they plant a bomb with the idea that the methane gas will help explode it, but good. And the plan works out pretty damn great. You got a lot of cool miniatures with a baby alligator walking through a 1/8 model or some shit. It's great stuff. There's this whole rigmarole where an old lady parks on top of the manhole cover. It's great.
The fact that they wouldn't have like cordoned anything off, or at least tried to say like, no, we're going to blow things up.
He's off the force. He can't commandeer men. He's got to
Granted,
go it
but
alone.
you could do something. It's just the fact that this lady parks there is just very like, of course.
And
And
she
he's
gets
very
offended.
indignant.
She gets offended because someone calls her an asshole. She's like, "What did he say?"
So yeah, he plants that bomb at, the guy who came into the police station with a fake bomb. He turns it into a real one and he climbs out just in the nick of time. And that sewer grate blows up, but good. And our beautiful Ramon is no more.
Look what they done to my boy.
They massacred our boy.
I love my dead giant alligator son.
Oh, Ramon.
I mean, rest in peace, my friend. You did so much good in the world. And people won't remember it, but we will. This
Yeah.
is a testament.
He
to
ate a
that.
lot of bad people.
He did.
Yeah. And I mean, he couldn't help it.
That kid was dropped into his mouth.
Like really.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're just kind of like chilling in a pool and somebody just sort of said, it's like, can we drop a slice of pizza in my mouth? You're gonna eat it, right? I mean,
yeah, he all he knows is it's a flesh covered package. He doesn't know the age of it. That's not on him. That's on those pirates.
but that was on those
anyone-
those sociopathic children that meant to murder that boy anyway.
We only meant to drown him, they say, as a defense. So does anyone have anything else to say about our beloved alligator?
Masterpiece.
Yeah. It's perfect.
It's a great movie. It is super fun to watch. Full of great, the reason we started the show was like finding great characters and maybe not great movies. And this is both. It's a great movie and with great characters in it. It's trying. Like every part of it is trying. And everyone's having fun, and it's a great success. There's some cringy moments in it. It's of an era, but outside of that, like it's a damn good time.
I do want to know in what capacity, from what IMDb tells me, that Kane Hodder played the alligator.
There's some mention of one version of the alligator that had two quote unquote body lifters or bodybuilder guys inside. And I think it has been of legend that Kane Hodder was one of those bodybuilders. He did stunt shit back in the day. So it wouldn't be impossible, but it's not like there's a blink and you miss it, outtake of him inside the mouth or anything.
Couldn't tell in what part of any of the stuff with the alligator that they would have used a person in that wasn't just someone swinging a tail.
Well, they had this version that was lightweight aluminum that you could fit two guys in to be the feet. And what they found was when you saw it in motion, it didn't move like an alligator because it couldn't slither because they couldn't lower the body low enough and still walk. Oh. So that was the main problem with that version of the alligator. So they worked around it.
Right.
It's a weird. It's weird. It has the feel of a low budget movie. But it actually looks pretty good, and you could tell that it is made with a lot of love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Teague is a filmmaker, and there's a lot of crazy pan zooms into things. Like he's moving the camera with purpose. He's really trying to tell a story. He's got a great script that's very witty. He's cast it well, and you can see it like in a non-YouTube form. It looks great. So run, do not walk, and spend the money to get yourself a copy of Alligator today.
I feel like we could have done a bonus episode because apparently there was a board game based on this, released in 1980.
I did not know.
And I think it would have been hilarious if we just played the board and we just recorded ourselves playing the board game.
That's what should have come with the Blu-ray. I mean, I love my poster, but I mean, board game.
Oh. I assume you're looking in the sewers for Ramon. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's choose our own death venture. And that's where we decide of the many deaths in the motion picture. Which way would you choose to die and why? And so we've got partially eaten with justification, eaten while chewing tobacco, a car crash, and then having your leg chewed off, walk the plank into Ramon, get drunk, just drunkenly wander into Ramon's mouth, ask to be removed, blow up in a police boat, get eaten in a canal, have both your legs removed, get tail thwapped at a party, get mouthed by Ramon and just dumped because you're a corrupt mayor, get smashed to death inside of a limo. I'm sure he kills other people other ways, but there's just so many. I had to stop typing after a certain point. Megan, you're our guest. You know what the deal here. You go first.
Oh boy. I mean, I guess I'd have to go with wander drunkenly into Ramon.
Okay.
Because that way, I mean, I don't want the pool because I don't want that last shot is too horrifying, that last glimpse. But I guess at least if I was drunk, I'd just be sort of like, hey, let me out of this alligator. Just kind of what he does. So
yeah, at least he's a little bit numb to the process, but that is a long time in an alligator's mouth. I'm just going to put that out there.
I know, but
it's a long chewing process.
And I don't want to fall in a bunch of grenades because then I'm just, it's going to look silly.
Gina, what say you?
Yeah, I actually, as much as I love Ramon, I do not want any direct alligator deaths. So I'm just going to take blowing up on a speedboat.
Sure. Yeah, I would think being blown up in a speedboat by a box full of grenades that I dropped the grenade into. That seems like a very Patrick way.
I was going to say that seems on brand for me. I am certain that, despite my recent health issues, that how I'm going to die is going to be doing something very stupid.
Yeah. Like
dropping a grenade.
The only other way to go out is to be hit with concussive force by a tail and go through a wedding cake.
Yeah, that's true. You leave the most amusing corpse, that's for sure.
Yeah, yes. Like everyone knows how you died. There won't be. They won't have to explain very much.
Some poor asshole at the medical examiner's office going to have to wipe that frosting off your face.
Yeah.
Jimmy loved this world. He loved to fly, and that's why when he flew after the alligator tail hit him into a wedding cake, I knew he died happy.
He died like he lived.
Flying through cakes.
A face full of cake.
Okay, our art is done by Josh Hollis. Our music is by Revenge Body. Go to bandcamp.revengebody for remixes and our original tunes and so much more. Megan, where can people read what you're doing right now?
I write for The Spool, where I review television, and I also have a podcast called Let's Get Weirding, where myself and Bo North read Frank Herbert's Dune series chapter by chapter.
An Academy Award winner as of this recording. Yes.
I like to think that reflects on our podcast.
I'm sure
100%.
it really helped communicate to the Academy Awards audience what they should be paying attention to and how they're rewarded for their reading habits. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about television and movies at The Spool as well, and I am on Twitter and Instagram under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. You can find us on Twitter. You know all the socials. Rate and review us on your local podcatcher. That helps us be seen and heard by more people. You know, we love it when that happens. And if you haven't done it, or if you haven't done it lately, or you haven't done it using your father-in-law's phone, I suggest you go out and do it. Not that I've ever done that. That would be wrong. Next week, more Animal Attacks adventures are coming your way. Don't worry, folks. The body count will continue. For myself, for Gina, for Megan. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.